And I welcome to the Inside Track set my good friend and former college buddy, high school buddy, whatever. This is reunion day, Mr. Bill Heller from the Albany Times-Union. Welcome, Bill, to the Inside Track.
That's a pleasure.
Bill, you are a sports writer for the Albany Times-Union. You're a harness rider for the Albany Times-Union. You got your start, though, in harness racing at Monticello Raceway. Why don't you give us a little background on how that came about?
Well, I used to get my addiction at Monticello Raceway, betting on people like John Manzi before he got smart and left that part of the business. But yeah, that's when I used to first start going to the track, was at Monticello. And when I went up to Albany, I became part of my career.
Now, what did you like about harness racing that made you go back again? What was it about the sport that brought you back again and made you want to write about it as a writer?
I think it's a very exciting sport. I think it doesn't get the attention it deserves as a sport. When it is top-notch racing, such as Saratoga just had Grand Circuit Week, or when you have the OTB Classic or Sire Stakes, when it is a sporting aspect of it, you look at something that is decided in the space of 2 minutes. 10 or 8 different horsemen think they have the best horses. We're going to decide it in 2 minutes. No best-of-7 playoffs, no 162-game season. 2 minutes, let's get on the track, and we're going to see who's better today anyway. And it's simple, it's fast, and it's exciting.
Okay, you mentioned Grand Circuit Week. We'll talk about the sport of harness racing in a few minutes. What I want to do is talk about the past week at Saratoga. It was Grand Circuit Week, and they had 2 $100,000 races, the Harriman Trot on Friday, July 3rd, and the Pace on Saturday. You, though, will set up the trot for us. Tell us what the trot was about, how the horses qualified, and what went into putting that race together.
Okay, about 2 or 3 years ago, Saratoga always had Grand Circuit Week. And 2 or 3 years ago, David Morris, the track president, decided that they weren't attracting the top horses in the sport. So he upped the purse from $25,000 to $100,000 for the 2 big races, the 3-year-old Trot, the Harriman, and the 3-year-old Pace, which is now called the Haswell Memorial. The Trot was a tremendous success. This is this past Friday. It attracted 20 top 3-year-old trotters. I think every good 3-year-old trotter in the country was at Saratoga for this race. So they had 3 elimination heats. Top 3 from each heat qualified for the final. And you had 9 horses going in a final that was worth about $42,000. The total purse was $105,000.
Now, before the race, excuse me, what did you look for in the race? Who were the horses that you thought would lead? Who were the horses that you thought would eventually win the race?
Well, I guess the most interesting horse is Smokin' Yankee, Stanley Dancer's 2-year-old champion. He was a 2-year-old trotter of the year. This year he had 8 starts before Friday. He had won 4 of them, but he had lost a couple big races. He had lost the Yonkers Trot. He rebounded. He won a race at Brandywine by 9 lengths. He was the horse to beat in 1 heat. The other 2 heats were Keystone Triton was in 1 heat, and Carl Allen, not related to Jimmy Allen, he's from the Midwest, had a horse named Mo Bandy that won the Yonkers Trot. He was actually second. Keystone Triton won the race by a head, was placed second when he made a lap-on break. So those were the 3 standouts.
Okay. What we're going to do now is take a look at that race, and then Billy and I will analyze it afterwards, and we'll talk more about the sport of harness racing. So let's set the stage for you. It is Friday, July 3rd, race number 8, and for the call of the race, let's go to the monitor and Mr. George Miller.
Camp David on the rail, drives for the lead. Smokin' Yankee in between horses. Second, Spice Island on the rail. Third, Liam Almahurst on the outside. Fourth, Keystone Triton is fifth. Seagull Hanover 6 has gone off gate. TNT's Bambino moves up and is now 7th as they swing through the turn, go to the backstretch. Start for the quarter. Camp David on top by a length. Smokin' Yankee right there, second by 4 lengths. Spice Island is third. They were at the quarter in 29 flat. Now into the paddock turn, first time coming around for the top of the stretch. It's Camp David with the lead by a length. Smokin' Yankee second by 3. Spice Island is third by 2. Liam Almahurst is fourth by 2.5. Keystone Triton fifth by 2.5. TNT's Bambino sixth. As they swing off the turn at the top of the stretch, Graf Zeppelin 7th. They're coming to the half, and Camp David continues to cut out the racetrack with Smokin' Yankee staying right there, a challenging second by 2.5. Spice Island is third. Keystone Triton now under a drive fourth, beginning to move up on the outside. Liam Almahurst is fifth. They were at the half, 59-4. To the clubhouse turn, second time, Camp David still in front by a length, and Smokin' Yankee staying right there, a tight second by 3/4 of a length. Keystone Triton now on the outside, third. Spice Island is fourth. It's Graf Zeppelin 5th on the outside. Liam Almahurst is 6th. TNT's Bambino is 7th. As they go to the three-quarters, they were at the three-quarters in 1:30-1 in the finals of the E. Harriman Memorial Trot. Paddock turn final time. Camp David with the lead. Smoking Yankee covered on the rail second. Keystone Triton right alongside third. Spice Island is fourth. Graf Zeppelin fifth. TNT's Bambino is sixth. Liam Almahurst is seventh. We're at the top of the stretch coming for home. It's Camp David with the lead. Keystone Triton coming on the outside in a challenge. Smoking Yankee goes off gate. It's Camp David.
And as you can see, here's the photo of that race. Keystone Triton nosing out Camp David. Eldon Harner driving Keystone Triton. Billy O'Donnell driving Camp David. Okay, Bill, we've just seen the race. The fans at home have seen the race. What was your analysis, and as you wrote about it in the Times-Union?
Well, you have to feel good. It was a former Monticello driver, Eldon Harner, and beating out a former Saratoga driver, Billy O'Donnell, who's now the leading money winner in the nation and driving from the Meadowlands. It was a very, very interesting race. It was basically a three-horse race. Billy O'Donnell's horse, Camp David, who nobody really knew that much about, was lightly raced, but is a very, very top trotter and will be a definite factor in the Hambletonian later in the year. He had won the fastest elimination heat, 1:59.4. Very fast for trotters coming back on a half-mile track to do another heat in the final. So it was him, Smokin' Yankee, and Keystone Triton. When they drew for post position, the three winners, the other winner was Homesick, who made a break in the final. Camp David got the rail. O'Donnell used that advantage to make Dancer take the pocket behind him and sit second. They come to the half. It's basically a three-horse race. Him sitting first, Stanley Dancer behind him, and here comes Eldon Harner on the outside with Keystone Triton. Stan had to make a decision, and he should have pulled at the half, because if he didn't, he was going to get locked in. Now, he knew that Camp David was a strong horse, had won the elimination heat very impressively, but by not pulling, he was locked in. So when they came around the head of the stretch, Camp David still had the lead, Keystone Triton was still on the outside, and Stanley Dancer found himself pinned in on the rail with Smokin' Yankee, nowhere to go. And if you saw it on the tape, he tried to move in between horses. There really wasn't room. What happened, the horse made a break. I don't know if it was because he threw a boot, but he did throw a boot on the track. When he made his break, he went up and actually hit Bill O'Donnell sulky, driving Camp David. It affected him, who knows, maybe this much, but as you see from the photo, the difference was only a nose, so maybe that made a difference, maybe it didn't. Keystone Triton got up in just the last step. Nobody really knew who won the race once it was over.
Were you surprised? Were you very surprised by the outcome, or did you think that maybe that could happen?
I wasn't surprised that much. The thing that surprised me the most was the price Keystone Triton paid. He went off in the elimination heat against Camp David, the 6-5 favorite. Camp David won by 4.5 lengths. Keystone Triton was second, but it was a very easy second. Eldon Harner knew he had another heat to go, and he wasn't going to push the horse because he had to come back. He went off 12-1 as compared to 6-5 in the elimination heat and paid $26. That was surprising to anybody who bet him.
I'd like to have you on for the entire show. The professor is waiting in the wings. One question, though, before we get off. The sport of harness racing, your opinion, how are things going?
Things in New York State are not going well for harness racing. Yonkers is getting killed by the Meadowlands. Roosevelt is doing very badly. There's legislation pending in Albany, hopefully before the legislature adjourns next week, to get some kind of relief tax help through, as was given to Monticello last year. But I think very badly the sport of harness racing in New York needs unilateral legislation
from the lawmakers in Albany.
Yes, to fight the competition from the Meadowlands, because the Meadowlands is doing so well. Saratoga is having a very good meet, up 20%. Monticello is holding its own this year, but some of the other tracks in New York, Vernon Downs, Batavia, Buffalo, are not doing that well, and something has to be done.
Bill, thanks a lot.
My pleasure.
My good friend, Mr. Bill Heller from the Albany Times-Union, has to be one of the easiest interviews I've ever done. I only asked 4 questions. And we'll be back with the professor, Mr. John Manzi, right after these commercials.